July na, but the COVID-19 situation in the Philippines is far from under control. In fact, kung titignan natin yung very high fatality rates and very low, disturbingly low recovery rates. And recently po, the World Health Organization singled out the Philippines for having a very disturbing trend of resurgence of COVID-19 transmission. But nonetheless, ang sinasabi ng administration is we need to reopen our economy. And ayon kay Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque, baka naman panahon na nasayawin natin yung krisis na yan. Quite predictably, the comments of the presidential spokesman was misunderstood or misconstrued as if the government is making light of the situation. But in fairness to the presidential spokesman, he was not talking about literally sayawin natin yung krisis, but he was talking about a specific model of crisis management when it comes to COVID-19 virus. Ngayon, kung maalala nyo, earlier this year, a series of articles by a California-based data scientist named Thomas Puello became viral, whereby he talked about the so-called the hammer and the dance model. Of course, the hammer, this refers to lockdowns and very strict measures to ensure social distancing across the world. In fact, studies show that a single day of effective social distancing measures or strict lockdown could bring down yung infections by up to 40% and could have even a more significant effect in terms of preventing fatalities. Okay, lockdowns are important, especially when transmission rate reaches a certain threshold. If you bring down the transmission rate to around 1, then the crisis becomes significantly manageable. Ngayon, ang problema, you cannot have the lockdown forever because once it reaches 2 months or more, it's going to hemorrhage your economy and it's going to create a lot of political and social crisis, not to mention affecting the psychological health of a lot of people who are going to be stuck at home for a very, very long time. Ngayon, habang wala pang bakuna, the next step is the dance. Ayon kay Presidential Spokesman Harry Roque, some will say kinakailangan natin sayawin ang COVID-19 kasi sa Pilipino, when you have to live with something, sayawin mo na lang. Yan pong gagawin natin, sasayawin po natin yung krisis. Now, obviously, ang nire-refer dito ni Presidential Spokesman, most likely, is the dance part of the hammer and the dance model that Thomas Puello put forward. Now, the dance means that we're not going to go back to normal or status quo ante. But we're not also going to keep the strict lockdowns forever. And in the meantime, the government will use different kinds of measures to ensure na habang we're restarting the economy, you also make sure that the infection rates do not get out of control. And the dance means that once in a while, if talagang lumala yung sitwasyon, pwede ka mag-revert back to a more enhanced or stricter versions of lockdown and social distancing measures. Now, the dance is very, very important dahil as Presidential Spokesman Harry Roque put it, we need to restart our economy. Kaya naniniwala po tayo na malalampasan po natin itong krisis na ito. Tingin ko po, wala naman tayong alternatibo kundi magbukas talaga ng ekonomiya. As he correctly points out, the economic hemorrhage caused by the lockdowns to deal with the China-originated virus itself can create a lot of humanitarian crisis. Apektado dyan yung vaccines, apektado dyan yung livelihoods ng people, apektado dyan yung mga different programs to deal with poverty alleviation and food security. Apektado din dyan is political stability. But when it comes to the dance, Taiwan is the cutting edge. To begin with, Taiwan did not have to use a very big hammer. Bakit kamo? Well, they had very effective preventive measures. Kasama dyan are early travel restrictions on incoming passengers from China. January pa lang, it became almost impossible for people from the mainland or especially from Wuhan to get into Taiwan. Nonetheless, Taiwan had to play it safe and that's why they have the eternal dance. What were the measures that Taiwan used which could be very helpful to us? Now, pagdating sa Taiwan, it was a democratic participatory approach based on trust between the government and the citizenry. And there were also very concrete measures to ensure na effective yung itong eternal dance version ng Taiwan. For instance, soldiers were not mobilized to threaten people or to man countless checkpoints across the country with armored vehicles and tanks, but the soldiers were mobilized to do what? Create masks. Okay, Taiwan was able to produce millions of masks, bring the price down to around 20 cents. And soon, Taiwan was in a position to donate up to 10 million masks around the world and become the second largest mask producer just after mainland China. But Taiwan also had very strict quarantine measures for incoming passengers from abroad. Aside from China, what Taiwan did was to make sure that they stay at home and observe the 14-day quarantine. And that was done with very effective and cutting-edge contact tracing. Taiwan was also able to push for mass testing and constant public information campaigns. And it mobilized all sections of the society to make sure na yung response ng government is public health-based, not based on military or just big hammer. So the lessons for the Philippines is very clear. Perhaps instead of just relying on a militaristic approach, we have to more rely on mass testing, on effective contact tracing, and a public health policy approach. So since late March po, we have had different versions of hammer. Now it's time to dance our economy back into life. Ako po si Richard Hidarian. Stand with us, stand for truth.